Just about a year ago, our lives changed in ways too numerous to count. Confined to our homes with no place to go, not even to the office, the days rolled from one to the other. Like it or not, we were working from home. Casual Friday morphed into casual every day. Who could tell Tuesday from Thursday or Wednesday from Sunday? If you've ever been hospitalized for more than a couple of days, you knew this feeling, where the days sort of melt into one another. Like a patient in the hospital, we all needed that blackboard that read, "Today is Tuesday," changed daily by a nurse or orderly. What we needed was a system for marking time so that we could have a rhythm to our days, weeks, and what would turn into months. So that we could once again tell Tuesday from Wednesday. But we had a system all along. The Jewish calendar does just that, if only we would consider allowing it to order our days. No one puts this better than Abraham Joshua Heschel, who wrote, "Judaism is a religion of time, aiming at the sanctification of time. Unlike the space-minded man, to whom time is unvaried, iterative, homogeneous, to whom all hours are alike, the Bible senses the diversified character to time. There are no 2 hours alike. Every hour is unique, and the only one given at that moment is exclusive and endlessly precious." The building block of Jewish time is, of course, Shabbat, God's gift to us and our gift to the larger world. Once a week we have this 25-hour island of time. But that is just the beginning. The festivals of Sukkot and Pesach are week-long celebrations. Even before Sukkot begins, we must make the time to build the sukkah. Before that, if we have a sukkah, we have to remember where we stored it, and then we must inspect it to make sure everything is in working order. And if not, make repairs or order parts. And don't think you can just go and buy a sukkah the day before Sukkot. No, they must be ordered well in advance. And anyone who keeps Pesach or who has made a Seder knows the weeks of preparation this holiday requires. Whether it is the deep cleaning of our kitchen or purchasing kosher for Passover items before they are sold out, this holiday requires a level of planning that can feel like preparing for the invasion of Normandy. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are not just isolated holidays either. Together, they comprise the days of awe. During those days, we do the work of teshuvah, or repair. These 2 holy days are linked, and one does not exist without the other. Moreover, we are not expected to just show up for Rosh Hashanah without preparation. No, the entire month of Elul, the month before Rosh Hashanah, is expected to be a month of preparation. We listen for the daily call of the shofar, and each day our liturgy adds the recitation of Psalm 27. The culmination of our spiritual preparation are the prayers of Slichot. We find ourselves right now in another time of preparation, in anticipation of another holy day, for which we are not expected to just show up without having first done our spiritual homework. We are in the period of the Omer, which began on the second night of Passover and continues until Shavuot. The Omer, which literally means a measure, was the daily offering of the new grain harvest. In Leviticus, we are instructed to count until 7 weeks have elapsed. And then we are told to hold a celebration, a sacred occasion. What is that sacred occasion, you ask? Shavuot. In fact, Shavuot does not have a fixed date in the Torah. We know when it is because Shavuot falls on the day after we complete counting the Omer, the 50th day to be precise. In the Torah, Shavuot has no connection to giving of the Torah, as we associate the holiday today. Shavuot means weeks, marks the end of the 7 weeks of harvest, as counted by that Omer offering. But the rabbis saw these 50 days as the most significant spiritual journey ever to be undertaken. The journey would take us geographically from Egypt to Mount Sinai, politically from slaves to free people, and spiritually from idolatry to a nation of priests. According to Rabbi Michael Strassfeld, Sinai is the answer to the question, for what purpose were the Israelites freed from Egypt? The whole purpose of the Exodus is to prepare to accept Torah at Sinai on Shavuot. Our deliverance was not merely so that we could become a free people, but so that we could be free to choose the obligation of Torah, of being a light unto the nations. This period, the Omer, offers us the opportunity to once more live in Jewish time, as we annually prepare to accept the Torah again. For some Jews, the Omer period is marked by a period of mourning, based on the Talmudic story that many of the disciples of Rabbi Akiva died of a plague because they treated each other poorly. But that's a story for another sermon. If such mourning does not resonate with us, and we no longer live by an agricultural calendar, how can the Omer period remain relevant to us today? Rather than a time of mourning, the Omer actually offers us a time of excitement and expectation. The culmination is God's greatest gift to us, the gift of Torah. And each day brings us closer. Perhaps this is why we count up rather than down to Sinai. Each day of the Omer we count. This is the second day. This is the third day, and so on. One legend has it that the Israelites were so excited to receive the Torah that they too counted the days until they would reach Sinai. Tradition has it that we all stood at Sinai. But how did we get there? That is the question we might try to answer during this Omer period. We can use this period to metaphorically travel to Sinai. One tradition is to study Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our ancestors during this period. Pirkei Avot is one of the most accessible of all Jewish texts. And I bet you're already familiar with some of the teachings of Pirkei Avot. Like, you are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. And the world stands on 3 things: Torah, prayer, and acts of loving kindness. Or perhaps, like the Kabbalists, the mystics, we might see the 49 days as an opportunity to systematically work our way up from slavery and idol worship to a people worthy of Torah by each day focusing on the sfirot, or attributes, both divine and mortal. Some put aside money for tzedakah, corresponding to the days counted in the Omer. Maybe 10 cents on the first day, 20 seconds on the second day. Or, if you're feeling particularly flush, $1 on the first day, $2 on the second day, and so on. And we, like our ancestors, can simply count. The rabbis decided that even though the temple no longer stood, we should continue to count the Omer. In their wisdom, they understood that even though we no longer had a measure of our harvest to bring as an offering, we needed to connect Passover to Shavuot. The rabbis knew that we must prepare to receive the Torah, and it would take 49 days. It is a quick and easy ritual that we can perform each evening. If you are afraid you will forget, you can download an app right to your phone that will remind you each day to count the Omer, of course. There are mystical counters. A colleague, Rabbi Karen Kadar, has composed a beautiful counter with readings for each day. If you appreciate a good pun, you might like the Homer counter, featuring Homer Simpson. This old-school web format can be found not only online but on Facebook as well. The challenge is to allow ourselves the privilege of living in Jewish time, to order our days by the weekly holiday of Shabbat, and to live by the flow of the seasons, so that we can maintain a connection to the lives once lived by our ancestors, to make the time to prepare so that we can appreciate what comes next. Ultimately, counting the Omer is sort of like a Jewish GPS. Each day, we know we are getting closer to Sinai. Miss a day, and you risk taking a wrong turn. Or worse, winding back in Egypt. Just like a GPS that reminds us of how many miles and how many minutes until we reach our destination, counting the Omer reminds us of how many days until we reach our spiritual destination, Sinai. We continue on page 570 with Sfirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. I am ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al Sfirat HaOmer. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom shisha yamim la'omer. Today is the 6th day of the Omer. Shabbat shalom.